Childhood trauma can mess you up in more ways than you can ever imagine. Now, if you don't overcome your childhood trauma, you may end up doing certain things which are really, questionable, unexplainable, and sometimes you may even hurt other people. Every villain origin story, if you actually go and read, the villain has gone through severe trauma. There's only one difference between a villain and a hero. The hero and the villain have the same backstory. The only difference is the hero's like, I have received so much pain, I don't want anybody else to receive the same amount of trauma and pain. But the villain is like, I have received so much trauma in my life, I want everybody to go through the same pain and trauma that I went through. You see how both the hero and the villain all have the same backstory, but it's how they operate through the trauma. The hero is the one who has actually overcome it, but the villain is the one that is consumed by this trauma. Now, if you go to any institution, walk into any school, and if you look at statistics, right, the kids who actually perform well, get good grades and act nicely, who are actually normal by society standards. If you go and look at their household, if you go to their homes, they have a healthy, stable family. They have a loving mom, they have a loving dad, and everything is so perfect, everything is nice. So when everything is so balanced, perfect, and nice, all they have to do is show up on time to school, study, get good grades, have a decent behavior, and they're doing that. All right. Now, if you look at the kids who cause a lot of mischief in the class, or really naughty, all the unexplainable things, the kids who break stuff, who play pranks in the class, who hurt other people, who bully other people, and if you go look at their household, it's pretty toxic, And these are not theories; these are legit, cold, hard facts. You can go do your own research, walk into any school, and the kids who are not performing well, or receiving bad grades, who are, having this bad behavior, who are causing things that are not really nice for the environment of the class. If you go actually study their household, if you go back to their homes, it's a broken household, it's a toxic household. Mom and dad don't have a stable relationship. These kids don't have a good relationship with their mom and their dad. Sometimes it's only the mom, sometimes it's dad, sometimes they are single moms, sometimes single dads. It's not a good household, it's not a good environment. So what actually happens here is, when you are a kid, when you are a child, right, the only thing that you ever seen in life is your house and school. That's your whole world. Now, when you don't feel safe in your own house, it kind of puts you in this survival mode. And when it puts you in the survival mode, you just go to school, all right? And you need a way to express the trauma that you have gone through in home. So this is how kids express their trauma. They go break stuff, they go do unruly things, they be the naughtiest kid in the class, and they cannot focus properly, because your whole purpose as a human being, as a mammal, is to survive, not to score good grades. It's not to perform in class, it's not to achieve big things. The number one priority that your mind, body has in this life is to survive, all right? And when you don't feel safe in your own house, as a kid, your brain goes into survival mode, and you don't really feel safe. You don't know when shit is about to hit the fan. And then you go to school, all right? Only now your brain is kind of calming down. But when it's calming down, it needs to release the trauma and the pain that you have felt in your house. And while releasing it, your logical part of the brain is not really working. You're really emotional, and you do certain things which come off as unruly, mischief, bad behavior. And you can't really focus well on your academies. You can't really score well, because your brain is so solely focused on surviving situations. And you'll be labeled as a misfit because you can't really think straight. You're still processing the trauma that you've gone through inside your house. And you're doing certain things, go study every kid, who's not performing well, who's not, showing up to the class, who's not behaving, normal or decent. All of them have pretty insane, bad households. They have toxic households, toxic family, and toxic parents, and they don't feel safe in their own house. So when they come to school, they just release their trauma. And when they're releasing their trauma, their logical brain is kind of numb. They're just emotionally reacting. This is how they release their trauma. Because in their household, when they cry and stuff, they're probably abused because they let out their emotions. And now they feel like letting out your emotions is not safe. So you have to find other ways to express your emotions. And when they go to school, they misbehave and they express it in a certain way. It comes out as mischief. Now, I'm not labeling you guys here because I was one of those kids. I was not truly the perfect kid. I was not getting the best grades. I was failing. I was the most mischievous kid in the class. I was part of the misfits, the mishaps. And when I say this, I know how you feel, because I was there. The only difference is I somehow figured out, I got this spiritual download. Something just went off in my brain, and I gained this knowledge like, okay, it's all back rooted. It stems from childhood trauma. So all I had to do is let go of the trauma. And automatically, when you put yourself in an environment which is not negative, it's not positive also, but it's just neutral. And you have the ability to direct your thoughts, in a positive way, just for a day or two. And then you go back to your negative environment. And if you have a strong mind and you don't allow the negativity to seep into your mind, seep into your subconscious mind, and you have this amazing willpower, the state control, guess what? You'll have this ability to overcome the trauma. And now, when you overcome your trauma, when you let go of the trauma, and now you're not really getting affected by any external noise, any external situation. You're mentally strong, and now you know how to let go of any adversity. Now your brain starts to function, because all this time you were living in survival mode. And when you come to school, right, you have this time where you express your trauma, you express the pain that you faced in your house. And when you express it, it doesn't really come off as natural. Of course, you're going to look weird, you're going to look odd from the group. And of course, you'll be labeled one of those kids who causes a lot of trouble. And of course, you'll have the group of kids who cause a lot of trouble. And then the worst part is, after you express it, you feel pretty nice, you feel relief, all right? But then the teacher and the school environment also gives you a lot of shit. I mean, of course, they're just doing their job. But for you as a kid, it feels like home was against you, your house was against you. And now you come to school, even the school is against you. Now again, you slip back into survival mode. And now, as the day is getting over, at the back of your mind, you have this fear. Okay, I am going back home. I'm going back to a place that is not really good, to a place which does not feel safe. And that fear starts creeping up in your mind. And every single day when you're about to go back home, you have this fear that creeps back up in your mind. You're like, oh shit, I'm gonna go back to this place which doesn't make me feel safe. And when you are constantly living in this survival paradigm, how can you expect to perform well in school? How can you expect to perform, well in essentially anything? You can't really perform. And let's say you grow up, you get into your teenage years, and now it just aggravates, all right? Because all these years of stored pent-up trauma is just there. And you have spent so many years in survival mode. And when you become a teenager, most of the people who go through a lot of trauma, in teenager, probably do certain things which are really terrible, because it's not that they are bad, it's just circumstances made them bad. And they are reacting out of emotional, imbalance. Emotionally, they're not really balanced. And I understand that, because even when I was a teenager, I got into a lot of addictions because I wasn't emotionally balanced. All this time, I was in survival mode. And only when I got high, I felt a wave of relaxation. That's when I felt really alive. It felt like finally I'm out of the survival paradigm. Finally, I did not have to think about all my problems. And I know exactly how you feel. If you made it so far into the video, I know that even you haven't really, fit in this normal group. You're probably labeled a misfit or a outcast or the mischievous kid, or you probably gone through, a toxic household, a toxic upbringing. And let me tell you that, it is completely possible to overcome all of this. Because if I can do it, a guy like me, I'm not that smart, I'm not that intelligent, but somehow I figured out how to do this, how to overcome the trauma. And somehow I'm able to do this. If I can do this, anybody in the world can do it. All right. So if you're watching this, you have all the hope in the world. You just have to believe in yourself. And when I just overcame all of this, things became so clear. Your mind will start functioning like normal. Like your whole function of your brain is to work on things, get shit done, achieve, and progress in life. It's only the environment. When the environment doesn't support this, or when the environment is toxic, your brain slips into survival mode. And instead of achievement, you're thinking about survival. So all you have to do is get out of the survival mode. And instead of changing, before you even change your environment, all right, you have to change your mind. You have to let go of the trauma. You have to strengthen your mind. You have to strengthen your willpower. Once you strengthen both of these, you can be in any environment and you will not be affected by any negative thing that is happening around. You'll be so calm and in your state, nothing can affect you mentally, So all you need to do is gain control of your emotions, let go of the past trauma. And you can only let this go if you sit down and do the inner work. Once you do the inner work, you will identify, what situations have caused certain behavioral issues that you have right now. If you have an addiction issue, if you have an anger issue, right? If you keep punching people, it's because you feel so angry on the inside. Because so many people have hurt you. So many people have cheated on you. So many people have told lies to you, have done things to you, which are really bad. And now you're so angry about it. And somebody just pisses you off, you just get triggered, and you just want to beat the shit out of them, all right? But once you overcome this, once you identify what caused you to be here, and if you let go of that, if you heal from the trauma, you eventually elevate from this lower survival paradigm and you elevate to this higher vibrational state. And now you feel love on the inside, because stop trying to chase love on the external. Only when you feel love on the internal, it kind of reflects back outside. Because if you don't feel love on the inside, and let's say you fall in love with somebody, they are a mirror reflection of you. If you're a very angry person on the inside, guess what? You will attract people who are also very angry on the inside. It's like your mirror reality is just shining back on you. If you are really sad, and if you're just in trauma, and if you're a drug addict, guess what? Your partner is more likely to be a drug addict. So all you have to do to find the love of your life or the best person of your dreams is you have to do the shift internally. You have to shift internally. So if you feel love on the inside, and you can feel love on the inside only when you let go of the baggage, because you can try feeling love on the inside, but the thing is, it's to make love permanent. Of course, in a day, even if you have so much trauma on the inside, you can feel love, but does the love stay more than 18 hours? If you have 24 hours in a day, and if you actually analyze the kinds of emotion that you felt, is love taking the majority of the emotions? That's the whole point here. You need love, peace, joy, and happiness to take the majority of your day, and all the sadness to have a very minimal impact on your day. It's like you get triggered, you get angry, you get sad, you cry, but that does not take up 24 hours of your day. It doesn't take up 7 days of your week. It just takes a small 2, 3, maybe 10-15% of your entire month. But if it's taking more than 95% of your entire month, you're not really living, you're just surviving. And to thrive, to live and thrive, you have to let go of the survival mode and raise your vibration. And you can only do that, you can have a permanent shift only if you let go of the trauma. And I know it sounds really complicated and stuff, but trust me, even if it doesn't, take 1 hour to overcome all your trauma. I mean, you can't really do that because so many years you've been living in survival mode. But sometimes you can do, all right? I'm not saying that it's completely impossible. It is possible, but it's rare. But once you start working on yourself, once you start doing the inner work, slowly start letting go of the trauma that you have gone through, start letting go of the pain. Eventually, over a period of time, you get so much more better. And now you can think much more clearer. You can think faster, better. You're more sharper. And now you don't even have to try. You unlock this super intelligence. Things are just flowing and you're just operating because you have survived in these tough situations. All right, you have survived in the most brutal environment, when things are not really, you have survived when you felt so unsafe. And now when you shift your mindset here, and now you're here, you're not feeding off any negativity, you're in complete control of your mind, you gain superpowers, right? And now you become much more stronger and sharper than even people around you. People who have never been in all these negative situations or never experienced pain, of course, they have an upper edge when it comes to believing in themselves, when it comes to having an optimistic view on life. But what have I told you? You can achieve more optimism than them. And now this is not a game of comparison, but I'm saying you the infinite potential that you can achieve just by overcoming your trauma and staying in state or gaining control of your emotions. You just unlock superpowers. Your brain just works. And this is amazing. This is awesome. And I'm telling you by experience, all right? It just feels like life becomes so much more easy. And now things are just flowing. And literally, some days it feels like every day works out in my favor. Everything works out in my favor. That's how it actually feels. So all you have to do is do the inner work, identify the situations that put you in this place, let go of them, raise your vibrational state, and make this a permanent shift. So hope that helps. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.